The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up The Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We have got a very special interview for you today. Now, before we get going, hit like, subscribe, and the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. I just want to say a big thank you as well to our two sponsors. Firstly, Touchpoint Telecoms at touchpointtelecoms.co.uk, and also Dental on the Banks at dentalonthebanks.co.uk. And here is a little bit about them now.
I should be like you, Mel.
So there we are. Thank you to our two sponsors. Now we do have a very special guest with us today. Now my special guest is a radio host. He's been a TV presenter. He's currently a counsellor. He's been in movies, and he is somebody you will recognise from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where he ended up a finalist. It is a pleasure, therefore, to welcome on to Up the Cherries, Mr. Iain Lee. Iain Lee, welcome to the show. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very, very good, Craig. It's lovely. I know we've been talking about this for quite a while. God, I think November you got in touch, and I'm nervous because I know this is a football podcast. I am not a footballman, but I do have football stories, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm good. I really appreciate you asking me to come on. I'm sorry it took so long to sort out, but we got there in the end.
Most definitely. And we will discuss the team that you are linked to quite heavily, Chelsea, who we played a couple of weeks back as well. So where I wanted to start off, because you grew up just down the road from myself. I grew up in Reading, and you grew up in Slough. What was the early days like in Slough?
You know, so I grew up on a council estate in Slough called the Britwell Estate, and we lived on Monksfield Way. And I don't know why, but I would get beaten up for being posh. I wasn't posh. I grew up on a council estate, but the other kids on the council estate or in my cul-de-sac thought I was posh. So I'd get beaten up for that. But, you know, Slough gets a bad rep, right? And I have a lot of time for it. I had so much fun in Slough. When I was 11, we moved to Farnham Common, which was posh. So maybe they were right. But I still, you know, I went to school in Slough, went to Herschel every Saturday. You know, Mum would go and do a big shop in Slough, and I would go and hang out in the Boots or the WH Smiths and play on the old computers or new computers that they had there. Did a lot of drinking in Slough, had my first kiss when I was sat on the bus station, the steps. I've got a lot of love for Slough. I went back there recently, last week, because they're closing the Queensmere shopping centre, the big shopping centre. And I went back to, you know, I did a little live stream and to capture some memories. And it was, I really, really enjoyed it. So I've got a lot of time for it. It's easy to knock Slough. And the people that tend to knock Slough are racists. So, you know, I was brought up with Pakistani kids, Indian kids, Bangladeshi kids, you know, and it was nothing. because that's the way it was. You know, it was nothing. But you do get a lot of people that don't like Slough because they're massive racists.
It's a very multicultural city,
Yeah.
very much like Reading, actually, believe
Yeah.
it or not. And I think, that's so important in 2025 and 2026 as it is now. I keep thinking I'm in 2025 still, Ian. I'm going back in
I
time.
think I'm in 1987, so don't worry, you're ahead of me on
Yeah.
that. I was really amazed when I went to college that it struck me none of my peers I can think of, maybe one or two, had lived in such a multicultural place as Slough. They lived in very white places, not knocking very white places. That's the way it goes. I'm neither for nor against. But I was surprised that I'd had actually quite a I've been quite lucky in that I've been brought up in an environment like that.
Yeah, likewise. What I wanted to go on to was, of course, you did get into radio and also journalism and
Yeah.
TV very, very, early on.
Yeah.
What was it like getting into that industry? When did you realize you wanted to go back into it? And what was the journey like to the comedy circuit?
What was it like being on telly in the 90s? It was brilliant.
Yeah.
it was brilliant. So how did I get into it? Very early on, I wanted to be an actor. From as young as I can remember, I wanted to be an actor. And then at school, I was not very academic. Average, maybe slightly below average on GCSEs. A-levels, totally screwed up. But when I was doing my GCSEs, I said I want to be an actor.
Yeah.
And one teacher, the teacher who took me aside one day and said, "You are the worst behaved pupil I've ever met, and you're thick." Imagine saying that to a 14-year-old. Said, "Well, you can't be an actor because no one is a successful actor. It can't happen." And I was crushed. But there were 2 or 3 teachers there. There was one teacher in particular, Mrs. Ambrose, who saw that I was in some way different and not academic, but that I had some kind of performing talent. And she said, "Yeah, you can be an actor. You might not make any money out of it, but you can be an actor." And she showed me such kindness. So when I'm, I guess, 17, I wanted to audition for drama schools like RADA and Central and Lambda and all of that. And she believed in me, and she would invite me round her house every Thursday evening for an hour. And you had to have 2 audition pieces, and we had the audition pieces. She'd go through them with me. She'd then bring me some food and go and sit with her family. And then she'd come back and go, "Right, what have you got?" And we did that for ages. And I didn't get into drama school that year, but the next year I got into university to do performing arts. And I owe it to her because not only did she give me the time, she said, "Yeah, you can do that." And no one had said, "Yeah, you can do that" before. And in fact, I got in touch with her about 6 months ago, and I went up. She lives in Leeds, I think it is. And I went and spent the day with her and was able to thank her and say, "My career is down to you. If I hadn't had you, I wouldn't have done it." Anyway, then went on to university to study performing arts. Started doing stand-up there, was not a very good actor. When I came out of college, there was a huge stand-up circuit in London, and I wasn't getting any acting work, so I just went and did the circuit in London. And you'd rock up some room above a pub, go on the open spot, you'd do 5 minutes, and then you go home. So did that. Very luckily became friends with Mackenzie Crook, who went on to be, in Pirates of the Caribbean and the Detectorists and stuff like that. And this could go on for very quickly how I got onto the telly. I was doing a local radio job in Milton Keynes. It was 97, I think. And I hated it. And I was there for 6 months and I left. The week that I left, someone came in and said, "Oh, there's a fax, Ian. You might like this. Channel 4 are making a TV show. You might want to go for it." And it was the 11 o'clock show. And somehow, and they saw everybody. They must have auditioned 100 people. And somehow I got through. And I ended up doing these silly little vox pops on the street. That's what I was booked to do. Somehow I ended up hosting it. I don't really know how that happened. And I was on telly at 24, hosting, one of the biggest comedy shows of the 90s. And how was it? It was amazing. It was amazing. I'd been signing on. I've been living at my mum's. I was getting paid a lot of money. I was meeting, famous people. I was on a show that I was very proud of. So yeah, at the start, it was wicked.
Yeah, most definitely. You mentioned there Mackenzie Crook.
Yeah.
Of course, I just want to segue into the 11 o'clock show. Of course, Mackenzie Crook got his big break then, but it wasn't only Mackenzie, was it? It was also.
Go on. Sorry, I'm talking over you, Craig. Go on.
No, that's all right. It was Ricky Gervais, Jimmy Carr, Sacha Baron Cohen. Did you know they were all going to be pretty good?
It was also Mitchell and Webb, Charlie Brooker, Alex Lowe. We're going to talk about a bit later on. There were loads of people that were either on screen or writing. Did I know they were going to be really big? I knew Sacha was. I'd met Sacha a couple of times on the circuit. He still owes me 25 quid for a gig he never paid me. On the circuit, he was a bit crap. He was not great. But when he came in and did his first Ali G, it was like, oh, you've learned, you've put the work in. So it was obvious from the first Ali G that I saw that this was someone very, very special. Ricky, less so. I was always a big fan of Ricky's from his XFM show. And I remember but he divided people as he does, but then I remember there was a big debate about whether to have him on the show. He was almost the co-host with me instead of Daisy. That nearly happened. What a different world that would have been. We had a big meeting in the producer's office, Dom English's office, and everyone was there. Every writer, there was 60 people crammed in that office. And we watched some videos that he'd done. And it was a debate, right, do we have him or not? And it was split 50-50. I was very much on the side of, yeah, we should have him, he's great. And other people went, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. There's nothing there. So it was a split. I knew he'd be successful, but I didn't know he would become the stadium filling. You couldn't have predicted that. But they were both clearly very special, yeah.
Do you know what? It's a funny story, actually. Now, I don't know. I've tried to find out, but of course, originally from Reading, where Ricky is, and on one of his stand-up gigs, he actually mentions my surname, Beazley, and Dave Beazley, which was my grandfather's name. And I just wonder if it is something to do with history.
I'd take that. I'd say yes. Yes, it is.
Yes. Well, to be honest, the joke wasn't very complimentary, so you never know. But
uncomplimentary joke, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. I just want to come back onto the football side of things as well, because of course everybody links you to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Do tell us a little bit about how did you actually get into the team, or how involved are you with this?
Let's pull the curtain back a bit. As a kid growing up, I was never into football. I really tried, but I was never picked for the football team, so that side of it was out. And I would try watching it and reading Roy of the Rovers, and I just found it boring. But I am associated with my mum's side of the family with Chelsea. My dad's side were Arsenal. No, the other way around, excuse me. 2004, I'm doing a radio show on LBC, and for some reason I said I support Chelsea, right? Then that ended up on a website, so it suddenly became a thing. I tell a lie, and I've just remembered this. I've just got the chronology right. So 2003, I'm presenting a TV show called Rise, breakfast show that replaced the Big Breakfast. No one watched it. And I've been watching some of them because I've got a load of, I'll show you. Yeah, I've got 300 VHSs, right, of stuff that I did. This is Rise from September 2003. So I've been digitizing them, and I've watched bits of them. I don't sit there watching the whole 2 hours. I'm not sad. And actually on there, I was talking about supporting Chelsea, and I'd completely forgotten that. And I was doing it. I think I started doing it with my tongue very much in my cheek. I did write a football song that I used to sing on there. And because Kate, I think, was Arsenal, Kate Lawler, and so I'd say I was Chelsea. So that's where it came from. I had no interest in football at the time. However, it has paid off because that then goes out in the universe that Iain Lee supports football, supports Chelsea. And on 3 occasions, I've had the press team from Man City get in touch saying, Iain, Chelsea are playing Man City. Would you like to come up, go to the VIP restaurant, sit in the VIP seats? All you got to do is be interviewed about football. Now, I got 2 young lads that support Chelsea. And I said to them, should I do this? They went, yeah. I said, but I don't know anything about football and I'm going to be interviewed. And they went, we'll teach you. So 3 times I've been blessed, you know, and it's to get the most expensive tickets, you know, and all I've had to do is suffer the indignation. One of them was on the pitch. I was on the big screen. Iain Lee from I'm a Celebrity. How do you think your team are going to do today? So then you just go into, well, it's, you know, it's not been a great season. We've had some luck, but I just don't think they're pushing hard enough. And I know that the Man City, don't say Man City, they're having a good run and we've not done well. Just filibustering, word salad. But yes, I did it for my kids, and they got to experience the very luxury end. And I will be honest, and Craig, you'll notice I talk a lot. If you ever want to interrupt, do. I loved it. I'd never been to a football match before. Obviously, you're spoiled in the comfy seats, but the vibe was amazing. The noise, I didn't expect the noise when you walk out or when there's a cheer. Oh, you can feel it. It pushes you back. Yeah. So, yeah, I am going to say I support Chelsea. Don't ask me to name any of them. And I totally get. I wish someone had taken me to a football match when I was 8. Because being there, I totally get what the thrill is.
Well, we've played Chelsea twice this season, so unfortunately it won't be this season. But by all means, you'll have to come down to Bournemouth, come and experience our small little ground.
I love Bournemouth. Who won? I should probably have looked this up. Who won when we played?
It was a draw on both occasions. So.
Well, Chelsea have not been playing great this season. They really need to push forward a bit.
You never know. New manager as well. Liam Rossini has got in there as well.
I'm glad I was about to mention just word salad, you know.
One person though that used to play for Chelsea that you will know quite a bit about is your uncle.
Well,
tell us a bit more.
He's my second uncle. He's my second cousin. He's my dad's cousin, and it's a guy called Doug Rougvie. Now, I pronounce the name Rougvie. My real name is Iain Lee Rougvie. My birth name was, and then I dropped the Rougvie to be on the telly a few years ago, and my boys were a lot younger. As a Christmas present, I said, you can give me my new middle names. So legally, my full name is now Ian Felix Diamond Lee. That's thanks to my kids. And so I pronounce it Rougvie, but everyone else out of the family seems to pronounce it Rougvie. So yeah, my dad's cousin, Doug Rougvie, played for Aberdeen. And he went to Chelsea. You were saying it was for a couple of seasons. And I'm guessing it would have been about 82, 83. And I've never met the fella. My dad's met him. Well, my dad's dead now, but he's met him. But I'd never met him, but I was still very, very proud of him, you know, very, very proud to have a name that was, I think from what I've been told, and I've not really looked into it, is the reason he lasted such a little time at Chelsea was he was a bit aggressive. That the Aberdeen back then in the early 80s were quite rough.
Yeah.
And he would go in with the heavy tackle. But yeah, you know, very proud. I think he's still around. I think he's still alive, you know, and yeah. It was seen as a little bit of cool when I was at school that he played for Chelsea.
Well, of course, you are on radio quite regularly. You know, you have just recently retired from radio, haven't you, as well, Iain?
Yeah, I my last big gig was Talk Radio. That ended in 2020, and for the first time, Craig, in 25 years, the phone did not ring. The phone had always rung, and it didn't. And I did a little stint on a small local radio station, but I hated it, actually. It made me quite ill. So, you know, I do podcasts, I do streaming, but my work now, my day job, and I've just finished for the day, is I work as a counsellor. I'm believe that people come and see this idiot to talk about their problems. But that's my I would say that's 70% of my job. I'm getting back into performing in TV and stuff. But yeah, excuse me, my job is a counsellor, yeah.
Mental health is such a big thing as well in 2026. And what advice would you give to anybody who is struggling or, not opening up?
I won't do it here, but I did a podcast once. It was a very serious podcast about mental health. It was a little bit dry. And they said, so Iain, this is a joke I'm about to say. So Iain, what would you say to someone who's struggling? And I went, I would tell them to man the F up. And the faces of these hosts, they're thinking, oh my God, what have we booked? What have we booked? I'm joking. They didn't get the joke. What would I say? Talk to someone, talk to someone, talk to someone, talk to someone. And it's not me touting for work, professional if you can, but talk to someone, talk to a friend, a parent, a teacher, a priest. The Samaritans, I'm a big advocate of the Samaritans, 116, 123. I've called them when I've been desperate. You don't have to be suicidal. But for me, the key is talking to someone. When depression kicks in, the head lies to us. Our head tells us things that are not true. And sometimes, unfortunately, it tells us the world would be better off if we weren't living. And I've lost people, through their own hand because they thought the problems were too big to be solved. It's a cliche, but suicide is a long-term solution to a short-term problem. Everything has a solution. Might not be the solution you want, but everything has a solution. And no one is better off when someone takes their own life. No one. People think, oh, my wife, my kids, everyone will. No. No one is better off when someone takes their own life. So what would I say? Talk.
Very, very, very good advice. And, I've been there where I've been very, very down and, it sometimes feels like you can't get out. Feels like, and especially when people, and there is influences and people can sometimes be really nasty.
Yes.
Can be really nasty and bring you down. But talking, like you say, is the best medium to get out of that, to feel value, to feel something.
And listen, it's easy for me to say this because I'm doing all right at the moment. I'm content. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food in the fridge. I'm in a great relationship. I'm getting married. I've got a great relationship with my kids. So people think, well, what does he know? I've been there, man. I've been there. I used to have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money now, but I used to have a lot of money. And people think, well, you can't be depressed if you got a lot of money. Yes, you can. It might be easy. It might be more comfortable, but yes, you can. But I have been there. I have been 3 times. I was that close to doing it. 3 times that close to doing it. And 2 times I phoned the Samaritans and that took the pressure off a bit. And 1 time, the closest, I don't want to bring it down too much. I was able to fast forward the tape and see the effect it would have on everyone else. And I then put in stuff to get out of it. So, I've been there. I might end up there again. We don't know. I'm not cured of depression. I've learned that I'm bipolar and I'm on good meds for that. But, no one knows what's around the corner, man. It could happen to any of us at any time.
No, completely agree. And just going back into your career, you have had a lot of mostly pressing conversations in the media and in the news with listeners with a variety of outcomes. Some of those are very, very funny, but some are quite serious. How do you handle each of those calls? And have you ever been taken by surprise?
Well, there's a very famous call that's on YouTube and went around the world. I got interviewed for the New York Times for it, which is wild. And so I used to do a late night phone-in show with Catherine Boyle, who was the producer. Now I'm getting married to her in November. And it was a really silly show, right? We did a show where we played hide and seek, where I would hide and went and hid in a biffa bin down the road, and people had to guess where I am. Then they would phone up hiding, and it was a dumb show, right? But we'd also talk about mental health, about addiction, about loneliness and stuff like that. And we did, there were, I can think of 3 people actually who got in touch in desperate situations. But the famous one was a guy called Chris. He called in late one night near Christmas. He'd taken an overdose. He was outside. He didn't know where he was. We kept him on air. He described what he could see. It was in Plymouth. Someone phoned up, said, "Oh, I know exactly where he is." We called the ambulance and they saved him. And it was horrible. You know, had him on the line for 30 minutes. He stopped talking for 7 minutes. And I thought, I'm talking to a dead man, you know, and then he came back on. And it was awful. At the end of that call, I burst into tears. I do know he survived. He went to intensive care. He died. They resuscitated him. I spoke to him a couple of times after, but then didn't speak to him again. And it was very upsetting. And that was one of the key factors, possibly the key factor, that led me to train as a counsellor during lockdown. That I came off that thinking, I was talking nonsense to him. Could I have done anything differently if I'd have been trained? Actually, now I have been trained. Probably not. Probably not. You know, I'm not going to sit there and ask him about his parents and stuff like that. In that point, he wanted someone to talk to him, and you know, he took a lethal amount of drugs. You know, it wasn't a fake. You know, and that was very upsetting. And it's a strange world, isn't it? I won an award for that, and what was good about getting the award was I was able to stand on stage in the London Palladium and promote mental health, you know, but I won an award for it. And I'll be honest, Craig, it's always sat a little uneasily with me.
Yeah.
The industry, TV and radio is so weird. It was voted for by the public, that one. But it's always sat a little uncomfortably. I got an award for doing that, but that's the world we live in. That's where we're at.
But of course, there also was some funny ones as well. Minty Biscuit.
Oh
Tell us about Minty Biscuit. I've heard it. Anybody who wants to hear it can hear it on Ian's channel. But honestly,
if 80% of your listeners want to laugh, go and look for Minty Biscuit, Barry from Watford on YouTube. If 20% of your listeners want to be scratching their head going, well, I don't think it's very funny, go and do the same thing, because that seems to be the split. So, yeah, my friend Alex Lowe is a great comedian, an actor, does Clinton Baptiste now. Years and years ago, 2005, I was doing a show on LBC, and he got in touch. So I've got an idea for a character, this old guy called Barry. Do you mind if I call in and try it? I went, yeah, sure, go on, it'd be fun. And so Barry, I called him Barry from Watford. So I'm owed some money for that. And it was this funny old man that would talk nonsense, you know, and he would phone in a lot. He ended up on Steve Wright's show, actually, as a character. Anyway, I'm doing a show on BBC WM, BBC West Midlands. And it was fun, but it seemed like quite a dry one. And we would, for some reason, the conversation had got round to blue disabled badges. Oh my God, so local radio. And this, and Alex said, "Oh, I'm at my kid's football match. I'm bored. Can I phone in?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Blue disabled badges." And that was it. That was all, you know. And I'm talking, my favorite bit of the call is the woman at the start who's real and says, "Well, if I get out of my car and twist, I'll snap my spine." Anyway, Alex comes on as Barry and does this whole thing about can he park in the disabled bay? It's his wife's blue badge when he's buying her a Minty Biscuit. That's it. And it every 2 or 3 months, someone will send me a TikTok or an Instagram post where it's doing the rounds again. And it gets 2 or 3. I wish I could monetize it, because flipping it, man, I'd be loaded. And it keeps doing the round. I do know that Robert Downey Jr. has heard it and likes it. Although he said the host, I probably can't swear on here, so I won't. But
I'll go for it.
Okay, well, he said the host sounds like a prick. That was me. The Iron Man called me a prick. And I don't think it. You know, me and Barry must have done 200 calls easily. I don't think it's the funniest one we've ever done, but it's the one that's taken off. And it would have been, if I was doing BBC WM. 2000 and 2013, 14. So it's over 10 years old. But people love it, you know, and I'm thrilled that something 10 years old, 12 years old keeps coming back. It's a funny call, you know, but it's not the funniest.
What would you say is the funniest?
Oh, it's difficult to say because there was so many. But the one that really made me laugh a lot, he was talking about his wife. What was Barry's wife? Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about her Charlie. Now, he meant it was a double entendre because he meant her perfume, but it could also be construed as her genitalia. So he's banging on about his wife's Charlie and how he loves the smell of his wife's. Oh my God, it's vulgar. I'm not even going to say anymore. There's loads out there. Go and have a look on YouTube. Iain Lee, Barry from Watford. There are loads. There are loads out there. It's a lot of fun.
Do you know what? It takes me back to years ago. There's a really, really good friend. I won't mention his name on here. Probably won't want it to be mentioned. But we used to do, you know, he was working for a very, very, or what he thought was a very boring job. And he used to make these calls. And he made this word up, flapes. And it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But he'd call these people, you know, from this work phone and go, I'm looking for the flapes.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody would be like, what are they? Oh, I've got delivering the flapes. Nobody had a clue. And kind of, I did get involved a little bit. I called a bus company.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm looking for the bus. And he was like, from where? From my house. And it just continued and continued. And you could hear the other guy on the other end just getting really, really stressed out.
Yeah.
The guy knew it was a bit of a joke. The most recent one I did was with regards to a driving school. You know, This guy's come over from Tanzania. You know, he's looking to learn how to drive for him and his mother. You know, and you know he's put it into, you know, D for day mode. Doesn't move at night because he puts it into N. And race mode, he goes back behind, and his mother's blind, so no wonder she's had a crash. So yeah, if you want to watch that, you know, The Hungry Horse, it's called. It's
okay. We'll have some of that. Well done.
Yeah, not attributed to the pub, I should say. Not attributed to the pub, but it's absolutely ridiculous. But I just wanted to come on as well to other calls as well, because you have had some quite serious ones.
You know, there are some mean people out there, right? And part of the thing of being on a public figure, celebrity with a very small c, is some people will hate you and will want to destroy what you've created, and will make up all these stories about you. And yeah, there was that guy. There've been a few others, and I've always thought, listen, if I don't like someone on the radio, I switch it off. That's it. I don't, you know, try and make their life a misery. And unfortunately, I think it happens more in radio than TV, actually, because radio is more personal and is more intimate, I think, than television. And that's one thing I don't miss, you know, not being on the radio really for 5.5 years. I don't miss the people out there that want to upset you and stuff like that. I don't miss that at all.
But let's go on to something more cheerful, which was, of course, you know, on TV. When you did join Rise, you know, it was, you know, the replacement for the Big Breakfast. How difficult was it always going to be stepping into those big shoes?
I'm just turning my heating off because I'm bloody boiling. How was it? Well, it wasn't that really. You know, I was offered the Big Breakfast, to host the Big Breakfast, but it was when the Big Breakfast was ending, and it was like, I ain't doing that. It's going to end, and then I get blamed for ending it. So Rise, there were two carnations of Rise. The first one, it was very newsy. It was just after 9/11, and everyone thought people wanted rolling news. So it was very, very newsy. And the new Rise was Big Breakfast part 2, and I loved it. I loved it. I learned a lot. The first couple of months, I struggled because I'd never done live TV, 2 hours of live TV. And then about 2 months in, I realized it wasn't important. None of this matters. And that's been my philosophy in my broadcasting after that. Oh, this doesn't matter. And as soon as I realized that, I got it, and I was able to play around. And I loved it. It got terrible reviews. The last week, Vic and Bob reviewed it, and they said it was the funniest thing on TV and that I looked like a young Clint Eastwood. But that was enough for me. I loved it. And I wish I'd appreciated it more. I had 2 hours a day just to fanny around and show off. Wow, get paid for it, get well paid for it. I got to hang out with Kate Lawler, who I just thought was fantastic. Dougie Anderson, who's hilarious. Zora Suleiman. It was such a great team, Justin, the producer. I wish I had appreciated what I had. I had 2 hours a day on Channel 4 to do whatever I wanted and to interview pop stars. It doesn't get much better than that. Doesn't get much better than that. I had the keys to the kingdom. So I'm very, very proud of it. And I can say I'm digitizing some. I've got about a dozen. There's not many. And I'm uploading them. And the bits I'm seeing, I'm thinking, yeah, that was all right, actually. That was good. That was good.
You had the dream job. My dream job when I was a kid, all right. Well, I was a bit of a teenager back then, I was always into Billy Piper was the one that I always liked. And I was like,
Honey to the Bee.
Yes,
That's
absolutely loved Billy Piper. So, yeah, you had the dream job, talking about celebrities and
it was magic. It was magic, and I like I say, I wish I'd been more nervous, and I wish I'd made more of it, because what an opportunity! Wow.
Well, you've also mentioned you were on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy going on the show? How tough were some of the tasks, eating bugs and all sorts?
I've started streaming on TikTok, right? And I say this thing that annoys people off. I go, I won the hearts of the nation. I'm a Celebrity 2017, because it annoys people. The eating stuff was easy. I did it because I needed money. My kids were of an age, they would have been 8 and 6 or 7 and 5. They'd never seen me on the telly. I thought they're old enough now to see me on the biggest entertainment show ever. And I wanted to promote the radio show I was doing that wasn't getting any promotion. And it ticked all of those boxes. Unfortunately, I was in there with some arseholes that I didn't like, that were very, very mean to me, a very unpleasant little clique. The eating was easy. There were one where you had 2 milkshakes and you had to pick one, and one was a kangaroo's anus and one was an ostrich's penis, and you had to drink it the fastest, whoever drank it the fastest one. So I'm just chugging it back, right? And I was so far ahead, I then drank the second one, and I won. And I got to do the eating task on the last day or the last couple of days, whatever, and you don't know what task you're going to get. You get taken out, you stood behind a bush while they set the lights up, and then someone says, right, you're going to walk out, your mark is going to be there, Ant and Dec will be on your left or your right. And you walk out, and I walked out, and I saw it was the eating one. And I thought, oh my God, this is the most famous one. People want to see me do tasks. They either really, really love me or really, really hate me. And I can do this. I was a student in the 90s. I put any old shit in my mouth. I didn't care. I bet you won't drink that. What is it? It's piss. Yeah, okay. It was the 90s. So I did the eating task, and it was a joy. In fact, if you watch it, I'm doing all the, I'm hamming it up, man. It was because it was easy. The 2 worst ones was a pig's vagina, which was all right. The camel's brain was the one that I can still sometimes retch a little bit thinking about it. But it was easy. I did a swimming task that I failed miserably, and I nearly died. There were 2 tasks I nearly died in, and I'm not even joking. One was this underwater thing. You're 4 meters underwater, and there's like a pyramid, and you've got to swim through the pyramid, and there are air pockets. And I can swim, but not very well. You tick a form saying, can you swim? And I ticked yes, and I should have ticked not very well. And I couldn't do it. So I'm 4 meters underwater in this thing, and I've got my head in this thing. And they're going, Iain, just we're going to pause the game. Just regulate your breathing. And I couldn't do it. And you've got 3 or 4 cameramen underwater, and you've got, let's say, 3 safety people there. And they said, when I was going in, they said, right, you can say I'm a celeb to get me out, but if you can't say that, if you do that motion, someone will grab your feet and drag you out.
Mhm.
And there was a bit, I couldn't breathe. I could not breathe. And I did that. And no one came. And I genuinely thought, shit, I am going to die. I cannot breathe. And I managed to say, I'm a celebrity. And then they pulled me out. But no one saw that symbol. And if you watch it, you see me do it.
Yeah.
And I genuinely thought I was going to die. Genuinely. I started going into a panic mode, and it was horrendous. Yeah. Fun times.
Yes, most definitely. But you did end up a finalist in the show as well.
Came third. I lost out on second place, I was told, by 0.025% of the votes. And it's because all the thick people voted for, all the Dennis Wise and Amir Khan thick voters voted for the lad from Hollyoaks. I don't remember his name. But coming out third is better than second, because if you're second, you don't get to walk the rope bridge. I got to walk the bridge and got the fireworks. But overall, listen, my spirit experience was positive. I really, really enjoyed it. It's something I'm very, very proud of. Yeah.
Going back to your school days as well, when you said about acting, I did find out as well that you did appear on a film back in 2003, starring Angelina Jolie. The film's called Beyond Borders. Tell us a bit about it.
I'm in a film directed by Martin Campbell, who directed GoldenEye.
Yes.
It's got Angelina Jolie. It's got Clive Owen, and it's not very good. And I play a stand-up comedian in the 1980s at some function. I did quite a funny set, actually, written by Paul Garner. And during a break in filming, and my partner is sick to death of me telling this story, Angelina Jolie came over, kissed me on both cheeks, and said, I think you're very, very funny. I'll take that. The film was a piece of crap. And it wasn't the break into movies that I was hoping it would be. But I got flown first class. We filmed it in Montreal. Got flown first class, put up in a beautiful hotel. It was amazing. Yeah.
But you got kissed from Lara Croft.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Don't get no better than that.
That's where I think we should segue now, because you are a very, very, very keen gamer. You got a real love for retro gaming.
Yes.
You even do pieces on your channel with regards to retro gaming. What systems was it that was part of your childhood, Iain?
I'm old, right? So for me, it was the old 8-bit computers. Were they 8-bit? Yes, they were, I think. So for me, it's the Dragon 32 and the BBC. They were the machines I had. Neither of them particularly good, but they were the machines I had, and they're the ones that I tend to go backwards. I was never a Spectrum kid or a C64 kid, although I like them. And then I took a break from gaming and got into beer and girls. And then suddenly I saw a PlayStation and went, what the fudge? How did home gaming get this good? And then I was back in. So yeah, BBC, Dragon, and the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast for me is the one from, I guess, 1999, 2000.
Yes.
That was the machine. That was the machine for me. And I still love it. You know, I still dig out the old games sometimes and play them. I write a column for Retro Gamer magazine every month. I haven't done any streaming for a while, actually, of it, but I do listen to all the old men podcasts.
I remember always getting a new game machine on Christmas Day, opening it up. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
I think it was the first one I ever got was in 1991, and it's not the original, funny enough, but yeah, I've got one of them, which is the retro ones.
Yeah.
Of course, if you hack them, shouldn't keep that quiet.
As long as you own the ROMs, you can put anything in there.
Exactly. And also, because I love the Mega Drive. That's the other one, but that's quite difficult to get hold of because Amazon only sold it. But the Mega Drive for me was the big one. But you missed that whole generation, the Mega Drive SNES.
Yeah, I skipped it. I played Sonic a couple of times when we were drunk, but yeah, I skipped it. I thought video games, there's girls and there's beer and there's comedy, and then I saw it was a Saturn I saw first, and that was like, oh my god, you can have an arcade in your home now. It's this good. So yeah, I skipped that generation.
What games was it on the PlayStation that got you back into it?
Wipeout.
Oh, Wipeout.
That was it. Wipeout. You know, you would play it. I was signing on, got housing benefit. Those old days were great. And Wipeout to the point where you would close your eyes and you'd see Wipeout. You know, that was it. And I've got Wipeout on my PS5, and I'll turn it on and go, what should I play? Cyberpunk? Should I play? Let me just do some Wipeout while I work out what I'm going to play. Oh, man, I love it. Love it.
Do you know what? I haven't got the PS5 one. To be honest, I'm still on the PS4. My son's got the PS5, but is it still got open fold songs? And
no, they got rid of all of that. And if you play the old Wipeout on a modern system, they've got rid of all of that. So if you want, but it looks so good, man. It's just, it's such a good game. It's such a good game.
Well, the Dreamcast was another console as well that I had. You know, what sort of games, apart from Wipeout, stand out for you? What sort of things do you particularly like playing?
On the Dreamcast, Crazy Taxi was a great one. The Dreamcast was great because it was the first, allow me to get quite geeky. It was the first console, technically it wasn't, but let's say it was. It was the first console where you could get online. And play other people. So you'd be playing Choo Choo Rocket, which is just this insane Japanese game, which is so much fun. But you'd be playing it with some dude, another part of the world, and we'd never had anything like that. I took my kids recently to these old retro arcade things. You pay 12 quid and you can play all the machines. There's one in Milton Keynes called the Pixel Bunker, and it's the best one I've been to. And I took my kids there, and you get like a 3-hour session, and I always think, they'll be bored after half an hour. We stayed there for just under 3 hours, and Pac-Man was a big one with the kids. My eldest loves Donkey Kong. He goes straight to the Donkey Kong machine. And Sega Rally, 2-player Sega Rally. What a game. What a game. And my kids were absolutely destroying me at it. And we must have played Sega Rally for about 40 minutes where you sat down in the cab, and it was great, man. It was great. Those, let's be honest, a lot of those old games are crap, right? You don't want to play an Atari 2600. They're rubbish. In 5 minutes, you go, okay, I've seen it, I've done it. And a lot of the old games are rubbish, but some stand the test of time. And Sega Rally is. I want to go back there and play some more of that.
Oh, most definitely. I do agree with you on that. Sonic. There was a game on the Mega Drive. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Toe Jam and Earl.
Okay, yeah, I'm aware of them. Yeah, was it one of them a worm or something?
I don't know what it is. It's one big orange thing and one very, very thin red thing.
I'm thinking of something different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But Earthworm Jim, I think.
Earthworm Jim.
Yeah, Earthworm Jim, where you could fire cows into the air and all sorts. So, but I could talk to you all day about old gaming. And then, of course, with the PlayStation, of course, it was Tomb Raider. I'm still, funny enough, I've got the remakes. I don't know if you've played the remake ones or the remasters.
I played, there were 3, I think. Well, there's there's the new games and then the remasters. But I think they're remastering. I think they're rebuilding the original games from the ground up.
Yeah.
I think that's the next thing that's happening. So I'll be up for some of that,
Yeah, I've got the remasters of the first 6 games. I'm still, to this day, very, very crap at it, but I can still play Resident Evil 2 and know where everything is. Do you know what? Iain, I was absolutely petrified of playing that game. My cousin brought it round, and he was like, put this in the disk drive. And I was like, on the PlayStation. I thought, oh my God, when the zombie just turns its head at the start, and it was like that, scared the life out of me for about 6 months. And then I thought I'd play it, and then I could not get enough of it. It was that, like you say, games do stand the test of time.
Yeah.
After a certain time. But do tell us about Retro Gamer, and you do write some great articles. I've read a couple on there already, but is it always about subjects that you like, or do you sometimes have to deviate into subjects that maybe you don't?
Oh, in the magazine?
Yes.
I can write about whatever I want. I don't think anyone reads it there. I send it in and they go, yeah, that's one page filled. I write about anything I want, and a lot of it is about me, either reminiscing about me as a kid, and what gaming meant, or talking about my kids and retro gaming with them, or not even retro gaming. I remember I wrote one about during lockdown. So they would have been, God, they're about to, my eldest is turning 16 tomorrow. My youngest is going to be 14 in a week. So they would have been, so you go back, so they would have been 10 and 8, right? Yeah. During lockdown, I let them play a shed load of Fortnite, like a load of Fortnite, because that was, they were playing it with their mates. They got to have a headset on and they were talking to their mates at a time when they weren't allowed to see anybody, when they weren't allowed to see their friends. So I was like, yeah, go and play Fortnite, man. Go and talk to your friends. So I really enjoy sharing all of this stuff with my kids. I mean, I try not to be negative in the column, but sometimes I am. I think the VIC-20 is a crap machine. And I talk about that sometimes, and it's a little bit of rage baiting. People get upset by that stuff, but it's a rubbish machine. If you got a VIC-20 as a kid, you were robbed by your parents. Hated you. That's why they did it. That's why they did it.
It's funny you say about the lockdown, because I introduced my son to Shenmue.
Oh, okay. Wow.
During lockdown, and it was just like, and he was like, well, what's the whole point of this game? And it's like, well, it's just a kind of exploration simulator.
Yes, a forklift truck driving simulator. Now go and earn some coin.
Exactly. But final bit on retro gaming and, of course, gaming today. Do you think that it's kind of gaming nowadays is a little bit more saturated because the games aren't as difficult? The games back then were tough. They were hard. They were, you go onto the Mega Drive, okay, I can complete Sonic 1, 2, 3 and, Toe Jam and Earl, but not much else I can complete. I'm a bit shy at it, to be fair. But do you think it's become just too easy?
I think it's different. I don't know if it's too easy. They're just very different. I mean, if you gave a kid Manic Miner now, I never got past stage 4 of Manic Miner. That pixel perfect jump. I think games. I think they're better now. I'm going to say I think they're better. They're very, very different, right? These are the kind of graphics as a kid you could in the 80s you could only dream of. It's a difficult one to answer. I think games are better now. There we go. I'm going to call that, and someone will write in and say, "Well, you're wrong." I might give you a different answer if you ask me tomorrow. I just think they're different, and a lot of it's trying to sell you battle passes and all of that crap. But I look at what my kids get from gaming. I don't know. It's a tough question to answer. I think games are better now. There we go. I'm going to say that.
There we are. Well, apart from the wedding, you have got quite a lot coming up this year. It's going to be an exciting year. Tell us what is going to be on the agenda for Iain Lee.
I have got, after years of vowing I was never going to do live shows again, I booked in a load of live shows. And I did one last year to test it. And so the main show is a show called Imposter Syndrome. And it's a 2-hour show. And it's about me having imposter syndrome. When I was doing the 11 o'clock show, I had imposter syndrome. I was very low self-esteem. I was waiting for someone to say, we've given the person to the wrong job and the job to the wrong person. And I've had that throughout my career. And it's only in the last few years, looking back at some of these tapes, I've realized, I think I was quite good. And I think some of the stuff I did was really good. There's a lot of crap in there as well, but I think I was quite good. So the show is about me talking about having imposter syndrome, but how I appreciate what I did then. And there's some stand-up in there. There's some jokes. The first half of the show, we watch bits from old 11 o'clock shows, and I will tell behind-the-scenes stories and what Sasha was like, what Gervais was like. The second half is a Q&A with my friend David Turner from the Computer Game Show. But it's funnier than that. It's a very funny show. There's a really, really good song at the end, which I think is the funniest thing I've ever done. It's something I'm very, very proud of, and it's exciting doing the show, knowing that's coming. I think it's brilliant. So I'm doing a few of those. In February, I'm in Bath. In March, I'm in Macclesfield. And in April, I'm in Birmingham and Manchester. Birmingham isn't selling very well, guys. So come. And if you want to see more, it's iainlee.com/live, IAINLEE.com/live. And there's a couple of other things. I'm doing a show with Catherine, actually, called Ian and Catherine's Compendium of Games. It's February the 22nd. It's in Luton, and it's a game show. We just came up with an idea for a game show, and we play very, very silly games. I'll tell you one of them. We're going to play Guess Who with the audience. So we'll have two people up on stage. They've got to pick, everyone in the audience stands up. They pick a member of the audience. The other person has to guess who it is. We did it ages ago. And so is the person bald? No. Right. Everyone who's bald, sit down. Has the person got glasses? Yes. All right. Everyone who's got glasses, stay standing up. And then the other person said, does the person look like a paedophile? And we had to say yes. A few people stayed standing up, but about 6 people sat down, and we had to go to one person in the front row. Really sorry, sir. Could you stand up again? Because it was him. So we play a load of stupid games like that. It's very, very silly. It's kind of like the radio show that we used to do together. And yeah, all of the links are on iainlee.com/live. So go and have a... Can I just check that's the right...
Oh, of
web?
course.
I'm suddenly thinking, have I got the right... hang on a minute. I'm terrible at self-promoting. iainlee.com/live. There we go. That's it.
There we are. Well, I tell you what, that sounds brilliant. Do all these games include drinking?
They can do if you want. If you want to, it'd probably be more fun if you are pissed. I will say that.
Do you know what? It reminds me of a game that I used to play at university. I'm just going to share with you. So it's called Chicken Goggles.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Chicken Goggles?
I don't know this game, but I'm already intrigued.
No problem. So you sit round in a circle, and you've got to go chicken goggles up. You've got to go like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is already absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
So somebody starts and they got to go, and it goes round that way.
Okay.
If you go, it goes round that way.
Yeah.
Or you can stare somebody straight on in the face and go,
yeah.
And then it passes across the room. Now, of course, doing that with sober people is probably not going to be very, it's probably going to last quite a long time.
Yeah.
Doing it with a load of pissed lads at university, it's something
Love
else.
It.
And
Love
honestly, the quicker you get, the better it comes. If you delay more than a couple of seconds, you got to down your pint as well. So
you've reminded me, I used to play rock, paper, scissors on the radio. Do you know a quick game of rock, paper, scissors? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, go. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, go. What have you got there, Rock? Mate, I got paper. Sorry about that. Let's have another round. Let's have another round. Rock, paper, scissors, go. What have you got?
I've got scissors.
Oh, mate, I got rock. So we would do that on the radio. And surprisingly, I would win every single... If you're listening to the podcast, my hand is off camera until I see what he's got. Yeah. And I would do that on the radio, and people would get so pissed off with, you're cheating. I'm not cheating. It was fun. So, yeah, the show will be a bit like that. It would be very silly.
Awesome. Well, if you want to steal chicken goggles, you're more than welcome to claim it as your own.
I will consider it. I will consider it.
There we are. If you are going to the show and you do end up playing chicken goggles, it's my fault. I'm so sorry. But of course, you are getting married in November, like you said.
Yes.
Excited?
Nah, not really bothered. Yeah, I am excited. I'm very lucky. Catherine and I worked with each other for a long time, and sad as it is, our marriages fell apart. And at some point, one of us went, "Oh, quite like you," and the other one went, "Yeah, I quite like you." And it was either going to be the worst mistake ever, or it would be the greatest thing. And it's the greatest thing. And I'm very, very much in love. I love her kids. She loves my kids. And we're getting married, which is thrilling, man. I can't wait. Cannot wait. It's my best mate. She's everything to me. So I'm very, very lucky.
Amazing, mate. Amazing. So all the very, very, very best to both
Thank
of
you.
And hopefully it's an amazing day.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Definitely.
But Ian, it has been a real pleasure to have you on the show. A legend of both TV and radio. You are, mate.
I appreciate you asking me. And that was a great rehearsal. Do you want to record one now? That was the rehearsal.
No, that was a full
shit.
recording, that was. But
Okay.
yeah. But
Thank you.
Iain, a pleasure, and no doubt we'll catch up later in the year.
Nice one, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe to the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Also, do check out all of our other shows. Iain did make reference to music, and of course, we have had lots of musicians on. We've had Richie Neville from Five. We've had members of Ocean Colour Scene, the Happy Mondays, Hard Fi, the Blue Tones. We've had Omid Jalili, of course, a comedian. Of course, Iain did the 11 o'clock show. And we've had loads more. All you have to do, go to the interview tab, scroll across, and you'll find them all there. Again, thank you so much to Iain for his time. Like I say, do go check out his live shows and get your tickets now. But until the next one, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up The Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.